Welcome to NGEN Markets training session. So meanwhile, while others are joining in, we would start with our topic. We would discuss what's the topic for this particular session. So as you can see, today we are going to talk about holdings analysis. So we particularly have a tab which shows you the entire MF holdings and also equity holdings as well. So we will have this particular session on holding analysis and how to select mutual funds and make them make a portfolio of that based on holding analysis will be our concentration. And the next will be the Q&A. So you can ask the question on the chat box or either verbally, and we would address them up. So let's go ahead. Let me open my terminal up. So as you can see, my terminal is open. So I hope everybody can see my screen. So if not, please let me know. So we will particularly look into it. So as you can see, our NGEN Markets portal, to actually look towards holdings analysis, what you have to do is you have to look towards the fund section here, and you can go directly towards holding analysis within this tab. To open this, all you have to do is click on it, and then particularly you can see multiple sets of sub tabs which include sector changes, stock changes, equity holdings, and debt holdings as such. So let's focus on equity class as of now, and we can actually select multiple SEBI categories as well. So we can actually select one of the SEBI category to see only those average sector holding altogether. So right now, if we look towards this analysis, we would like to know within this entire range of mutual funds we hold in the SEBI classification, what is the average sector holding in banking as of 30th June 2022? So it's 18.78%, and it has generally decreased from the previous month. So to actually give you a notification here is that the green shows you the change from the previous month, which will be a upward change, and the red shows you the downward change. So that's how you can look towards it, and you can actually look towards the drill down approach, where which of these mutual funds are holding highly into banking. So you can just click on it, and you can actually see the entire percentage and the amount example as well. So all you have to do is you can click on the percentage, and you can see the highest percentage is actually by all the banking thematic banking mutual funds, whereas you can click on the amount invested in crores, and that is Kotak Flexi and Mirai Asset, which is holding high amount of crores in banking sector. So that's how you can actually take a look towards the sectoral changes within the entire set of equity mutual funds. Let's say we have a use case where we would like to know that how many of the flexi cap are holding highly towards pharmaceuticals. Now, this is a very concentrated question. So what you have to do is you just have to select an equity category in flexi cap. So I'm just going to type in flexi cap here. Once you have selected, you can actually look towards pharmaceuticals, which is average sector holding as 4.68%, and how the sector, average sector holdings has decreased in flexi cap in pharmaceuticals, that you can see. And you can also click on this 4.68 to actually navigate what are the highest percentage and which particular fund is actually holding towards pharmaceuticals in the flexi cap fund category. That is very insightful information if you have a concentrated set of portfolio construction to be done for your client. So that's how this works out. You can select any such categories, and you can also filter the holdings type. We have given this filter holdings type. So we have actually selected equities as of now, but you can filter multiple holdings, including derivatives, including NCDs, treasury bills, and all as such. So that if you open in some hybrid funds, you would definitely find those type of holdings there in itself. So that's how this is when you look towards the sector changes altogether. And what about the value rupees invested in crores? If I want to look towards not in average sector holding, but in value rupees invested in crores, so all you have to do is you have to toggle in this button, right? Once you toggle in this button, you can see that in banking for the entire set of MFs in the industry, it is 2,28,000 crores has been, as a average, has been the, rupees invested in crores in the banking sector by all the MFs. And you can subsequently click on it and look towards these all list of the funds, 356 funds altogether. And that's how this works out for every single sector we have given here. So you can, look towards any sector, maybe let's say shipping, and who are there in shipping, and you can just take a look towards shipping, such as SDFC small cap is highly towards shipping, and ICICI Pru Value Discovery. So that's how, if you're trying to make a sectoral based portfolio for your clients, where you believe that one of the sector will be, particularly be a good, a good amount of exposure should be given to the client's portfolio when you want to check holdings analysis. So that's how the sector changes works out. Now, what about the stock changes? What about when you take a look towards equity selections? It's a very insightful thing where you can look towards stock changes as to know how many of the stocks are there in large cap, first of all, and you can also check what is the average percentage holding for that particular stock by all the mutual funds. So, what you can do is you can actually see the increase and the decrease in the average holding. And that's a very, very insightful information to know. Whereas you can actually see the, some of the red areas where where you can see that Mahindra and Mahindra had some particularly 4 months where there was a, particular decrease. And now it has increased, fairly well based on the last 12 months. So you can actually click on any particular stock, let's say Reliance Industry, right? And you can, once you click on it, you can do the drill down approach, where you can actually, click on the highest percentage, which is held by DSP Natural Resources. And you can also, sort in based on amount in crores and the number of shares. So this is very useful if you want to look towards one single set of stock and want to see what type of average holding those all mutual funds are holding in that particular stock. And you can also look towards the number of shares. So as we all know, value rupees invested in crores was also there in sector changes. You can use this in shares held in lakhs. Now this is very, very useful, whereas you can see how much number of shares has been increased for that particular stock. So as a matter of fact, if I look towards some of the small caps, so you can look towards different sets of stocks just by looking into this show only mid cap stocks or small cap stocks altogether. And then you can actually take a look that how many number of stocks these particular, these particular stocks, these particular, many of the funds are holding in these stocks. So let's say we look towards Fortis Healthcare. So for Fortis Healthcare, you can just click on it and you can see how much of the percentage and which particular, fund is holding highest number of shares in that particular stock. Definitely there would be inclusion of some of the, thematic funds like Nippon India Pharma or some other funds. And that's how you can actually see, many of the stocks such as Zomato Limited as well. To look towards that, all you have to do is you can look towards the equity holdings if you want to, take a look that which, how many funds are holding that stock. We will look towards that later down the line. But right now we will talk about how many number of the funds have actually, have been holding for those, months altogether. So all you have to do is you have to click on this show fund counts. So once you click show fund counts, now the data will show you that how many number of funds were there before for Federal Bank Limited, and right now how many numbers are, actually, taking position in that particular stock. It's very insightful information when you're looking towards one singular set of equity. And it is also useful if you want to look the trend towards that equity. As you can see, Indian, Railway Finance Corp is actually having a too much of a, drawdown in the basis of the number of shares held in lakhs. It has been reduced a lot. And you can also see the number of funds have actually exited. So you can see for the last 12 months, these were the funds with number of shares, right? Now here in the, in this current scenario, you can see only these funds. So now these are the only funds, and one of the highest is actually SDFC FlexiCap, and it's still having a very low percentage as in holdings. So this is very, very useful if you're looking towards, one particular set of stock. And you can also click on that particular stock to see the price momentum of the stock. If I want to check this particular stock, all I have to do is I have to click on it, and one of the tab will open up. I hope my tab is visible to everyone. So once this tab is open up, you can see, the on the basis of actual prices as well, and also on the basis of in the rebased. So you can compare it, and altogether you can do a lots of analysis based on one particular stock. So our main topic is looking towards the holdings, and not towards looking towards the price momentum of the stock. But this is a very insightful information to have. Next is the equity holdings. By the way, you can also download this entire set of data set in one particular Excel. It's very useful if you want to do some customized analysis in Excel. So this is very useful to take a look towards. You can just click on this button and you can download the entire thing. Next is the equity holdings. Now here it's very this is very insightful when you want to look towards those top 25 stocks which are held by open-ended funds, because these are the top 25 stocks altogether. You can actually click on State Bank of India, and 472 funds are holding that particular stock. So you can actually see what percentage of which particular fund is holding, or ETFs are holding highest percentage holding in that particular stock. And you can also see the performance of that particular fund. So this is the performance. The highest performance are by these funds altogether. And you can also look towards others as well. So as of now, you can see in this particular chart, highest allocation is towards banking and IT software. It's more than 50%, as you can see in this pie chart. And it's a very insightful information to have when you're having some research based on the equity holdings. And yes, you can also search for the stocks. So let's say as Zomato is not included in top 25 stocks, you can search for that particular stock. And only those stocks will be shown which are actually holded by any mutual funds in this equity holdings. So you can see these are the particular funds which are holding that particular stock. And you can see in a very conciseful way that how many of the funds from that AMC, like Motilal Oswal, are holding that stock. So it's a very insightful information as to what type of how many AMCs are actually taking a call towards Zomato Limited. And you can actually download this entire table into Excel. Now we also have debt holdings. So debt holdings is where you would be able to recognize uh, if any debt paper has defaulted, or what are the ratings of that debt papers, and how many funds are holding that particular debt paper. So all you have to do is just search that debt name. So we can search it as a matter of fact as Reliance. And once you search it, you will see all the debt papers, all the securities which are based on Reliance, which is a keyword. And then you can sort in based on any parameter. You can actually check through ratings. You can what are the defaulted debt papers, and how many of the funds are holding that defaulted debt papers. And you can also check towards other rating such as AAA and AA, A plus, and everything is given here. So this is very useful to know what has been the performance of these debt funds as well. So for a 1 year performance, you can actually take a look towards that as well. And that's how you can download this entire data set in Excel. And if you have an ISIN number for that debt paper, you can actually copy that ISIN number. I will just show you an example here to copy that ISIN number. So let's say this is an ISIN number we want to look towards for Reliance Jio. All you have to do is you just have to copy this and paste it, and it will show you the commercial paper for Reliance Jio. And just you have to click on it, and these are the only so based on this ISIN number, these are the funds which are holding this particular debt paper. And that's how this works out. So if you are looking towards any debt paper, this is how you should look towards when you look into the debt holdings. Now here so now here what you can do is you can also do a very important analysis is a client section. So in the client section, you can just click on the client section. As you know, this debt holdings, let's say there are some couple of debt papers have defaulted, and you have recognized that these are the debt funds which are holding this defaulted debt papers. So how would you recognize which clients are holding those particular funds? You might have been suggesting those funds before. So all you have to do is, if you have an RTE connection with us, all you have to do is you have to come with an RTE connection, and you can search those holdings. To search those holdings, all you have to do is just search that particular debt fund. So any fund like a corporate bond or any fund altogether, you can search that, and you can recognize which client is actually holding that particular fund. and you can click on that client's name, and you can go towards run analytics and see how the analytics has been for that particular client. And there are a couple of things that can be done, is that if you think that this IDFC bond fund is not useful for the client, and there should be some changes to be made, all you have to do is you have to click on this, copy this client to the portfolio section. Now, why is this very useful? Because you can make some changes if you add this client portfolios into the portfolio section, so that once you make the changes, you can actually compare it with the original one. So you can come into the portfolio section, make some changes. So I will just show you where it will be onboarded. It will be onboarded into from clients, and you can see this is one client which we have added from the client section. So then you can edit this, and you can actually remove one of the fund which you think is not necessary for the client, and you can add another fund altogether. So let's say we add an HDFC money market fund, right? So that's how you can make some permutations and combinations, and you can run this or save as new. Once you save it as new, right, let's say Mr. Shah, right? Once you have saved this as new, you can actually create this, and then you can compare it directly into the compare to portfolios. Now, this is very useful because one of the time you would think that this is a good changes altogether you have made for the client, but it might not be the case that your changes might will be useful for the client analytics. So we will just show you which one of the client we have added. Just a moment. Okay, so you can just take a look. This is one client in the left side, and in the right side we will add our changes to that client's portfolio, and we will see if that is making sense or not. That definitely does make sense a bit, but it's not as as useful as a growth option. You can see the annual return difference is not that huge altogether, and even our annual volatility has increased. So you can and you have to make couple of changes to actually make a better set of portfolio, or a better set of addition to the portfolio to actually retain your existing clients. And that's how this is useful when you are looking towards the holdings analysis, because whenever you look towards holdings analysis, it is very, very helpful to recognize individual securities from equities and debt holdings, and it will help you in turn to look towards all your clients which are holding that particular security. As a matter of fact, if you know any stock which is not performing well and which is having a very high holdings altogether, let's say we go again towards Zomato, right? And we see that one of the particular thing is that Tata Nifty Digital India, or any fund like maybe Motilal Oswal focused, or Franklin India Blue Chip is not required, and is not a good fund for your clients, and you can recognize this all together into the client section. All you have to do is come into the client section, and just click on this RTA connection and search for that equity, debt, or a hybrid fund. So if I search for, let's say, DSP mid cap fund, and that is where my 47 clients are holding this funds. And one important thing here is that you can also sort them through AUM, holdings, and holdings percentage. So it's pretty useful if you want to know which clients are highly exposed toward that security. So these are your client to look towards when you're looking towards them as a risk perspective. And you can also take a look towards this top 5 mutual fund exposures, because when you click on them, you can actually see which of these clients are holding this particular funds. Very, very useful when you want to take a look towards in a generalized view as per your AUM, how many of your clients are holding the highest amount of ICICI Pru balance advantage, or a value discovery. So that's how this works out. So I'm going to repeat it again, because I've got a chat box where where it was seemed like we have gone too fast on holdings analysis. So just for a review purposes, sector changes helps you to know what are the changes in the sector based on all the mutual funds holdings altogether, based on the percentage average holding and the value rupees invested in crores. This is very useful to know, because once you see that the average holdings are decreased, it means there is something going on in the side of these all mutual funds, where you can see that number of funds in consideration is actually lesser right now against the against before in the equities. So in banking, there is a decrease in funds. Some funds have actually, exited from banking. And you can actually take a look towards all those funds altogether, and you can go ahead with your next set of analysis. Then there is a stock changes, which helps you to know some gems in mid caps and small caps as well, based on what particular holdings these all mutual funds are having for that equity. So even in small caps, there are some of the stocks where you would like to check towards, because when you click on this average percentage holdings, when you remove this show fund counts, you would see sometimes that there is, like this one, like these are the top L cargo logistics. You will see it is a high average holdings, but how many funds are invested into that average holdings? Because if you click on the show fund counts, you would see the true picture that this is average holding is just for one fund, right? And you can see that it is just Tata Small Cap Fund. So you would definitely want to check this, show fund counts, because this is very, very useful. And I would recommend everyone to use, show fund counts to actually see entire set of, how many number of mutual funds are there for that particular stock. As a matter of fact, you can look towards this particular stock as well, because the average sector holdings, average stock holding has actually increased, and you can actually see what funds are looking towards that particular stock. And surprisingly, you will see most of the quant are actually towards this particular stock, and it is very useful to know that the quant is actually betting towards this stock. And you can click on that stock to know what is going on with the stock. So you can just click on it and you can see the price momentum, the rolling analysis, and you would certainly find some volatility, as this is a highly volatile stock. You can look towards the rolling analysis, and there are lots of sets of analysis you can do for a singular stock as well. So that is how for the entire session what we had today. There is one more important thing, is that we recommend you to use our mobile link. So mobile based link is given here for the client links, and it is useful because you can send multiple sets of portfolios directly from here. By you don't have to share it via any medium like email or anything. All you have to do is just copy this. You just have to click on it and just type in the number of the client, and it will be easily be shareable to the client. So this is one thing. And another thing is that every single data set has been given in a downloadable function of Excel. So we recommend you to use this, because if you make some customized report on Word or any other software, you can use this data set to actually make a proper set of research report to present to the client that what is your research based on the holdings analysis altogether. And not just holdings analysis, but you can use it in compare section as well. As you can see, we know that how many of the top open-ended stocks are. You can actually add those top stocks all together into this list, and subsequently analyze those stocks and compare it with other stocks altogether. So that's how this works out, and that's what the entire session was about. We can start with our Q&A, where you can shoot your questions and we will definitely answer you back. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so is it possible to know the most owned stocks in different categories? Like, what is the most owned stock in small caps, large cap, mid cap, and so on?
Sure. So accordingly, actually, you can actually check that in holdings analysis altogether. When you go towards holdings analysis, you can just check towards stock changes, right?
Okay.
And you can actually click on in large cap. Now, in large cap, if you check, the most owned stock in large cap based on the average holding is actually ICICI Bank, because all you have to do is you have to click on this particular month.
Okay.
That will give you an ascending and a descending order, right? And you can also check for value rupees invested in growth. So based on large cap, mid cap, or a small cap, I can show you this data in front of you, that in the mid cap, Max Financial Services is having the highest number of value rupees invested in growth, or a number of shares held in lakh. So number of shares, Federal Bank is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any other
Yeah,
questions?
yeah, we had a different question, so not related to this training. So is it possible to get the details of like AMC age? So when the particular fund management company was started, the number of funds it has, and the total AUM the fund company has, and things like that.
Sure. So that is one basic in the sense we have already got that particular suggestion from many of our IFAs. So we are in a development of AMCs and AMC analysis where you can look towards the change in AUM as well. So that will be definitely coming in, but we would like to know your feedback as well based on your requirement. So we can have one singular session with you to see what are you looking towards and what functionalities we can develop so that that will be useful for you.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Uh, is it possible to see the turnover ratio in a particular scheme?
Yeah, hi Imran sir. So
I,
yeah, hi. So yes, no, currently we do not have a turnover ratio because there is an important fact that there is no attribution analysis which is shared by the AMCs with us. Now, if we give you a turnover ratio, let's say I'm loading in one fund here, right? So there is a case that you can see these are the holdings changes we have in the Axis Midcap Fund in asset allocation, right? Now, if we take a look towards only these securities which are added and decreased only for the last from the previous month, that would not give us a proper idea of the turnover ratio. So hence we do not have turnover ratio into the system, but we would like to know that what is your requirement on that, then we can connect again and we can take a investigation forward on that.
yes, some of this data is available on some other websites, like where they tell you okay, what is the turnover ratio, like whether it is 20%, 30%. It just give you okay, how the portfolio is being churned. Okay, so let's say if it's 100%, then in a year
Hmm.
almost 100% of the stocks have been churned. Okay, so
Yeah.
how so that actually gives us some idea whether the really the long term belief what the fund house is talking about.
I just come in here. I just wanted to tell you one thing that see the churning of a particular portfolio can only happen. This is Dev here. This actually happens when we get all the data from the fund manager. That daily what kind of buying selling the fund manager is doing. I do not know what kind of data the other websites are showing, but I'm 100% sure fund managers will never reveal that during the day what kind of stocks they are buying selling. So how they're arriving at a particular turnover percentage when this data is never being revealed by the fund managers in any AMCs for that matter.
Okay. Okay, so means some of the data which is available, like let's say, let's be upfront.
Now, that's what I'm just having a serious doubt. If somebody being a
Okay,
fund
whether that
manager,
okay,
how could somebody tell that how many times he has bought and sold a particular stock during the day? That is never revealed.
okay. But even on the monthly basis, also they are revealing the data, like what kind of a stocks is in out. So on that basis, there is any like kind
But
of a
that will not give you the right picture any which way, because I am not telling what is my daily turnover happening. How can I arrive at a monthly turnover?
Okay.
On what assumption?
Hmm. No, let's say if a website is showing, let's say this fund
But
has
where
got
is
a
that? See, you will have to come out. There has to be some disclosure happening, right?
right.
Who is giving the disclosure? If a disclosure is there in the public website, you let us know, we will capture it. There is no public disclosure on this, that how many times HDFC Bank has been sold and bought by a particular fund manager. And I can aggregate that on a monthly basis and show it to you.
So this is not 100% reliable data which is available in the
How
public
you tell
domain.
me, you ask, I don't know, we have not come across of any kind of such data, and we will never ever reveal such data which is not reliable. We are revealing such, you let me know if it is this data is publicly available and is a normal disclosure by the AMCs, then we
No,
will
that is
definitely talk
it.
to the AMCs and we will capture that data. But
No,
I'm
I'm not.
100% sure this turnover ratio or the turnover percentage of a particular portfolio of a AMC is never disclosed. Is never everyday buying, selling is never disclosed.
So then the only thing is like, let's say guess, let's say similar to this, let's say I'll be very upfront, let's say value research has this, this product has got 100%
So
turnover ratio.
I
So
don't
how
want
much
to
it,
I don't want to comment on any other website. Just let me know if it is publicly available. We'll capture the data.
okay, okay. Okay, okay. No, that was the only thing. Why? What does this tells about this?
I
Okay.
have I have told you. See, we all belong to the fund management industry, and we have worked there. We know how it happens. There is no
Okay.
such disclosure happens on the fund manager's desk that I tell you everything about what is my buying selling today. And I just cannot simply just tell to anyone as a public disclosure that this is there my whole month's turnover ratio, or this is my turnover percentage. I do not know where they're capturing. If this is a public data, please let us know. We will definitely try to get that data.
No problem. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Are there any other questions?
I sir, just one quick question I just wanted to ask. Can we have that style change factor, like what the fund is, what the fund style is exactly, and how it is changing like over the years? Is it does the fund manager change it to value or growth? Like, can we have some kind of that data?
Yeah, so on that basis, this is also a very subjective question, because what type of stocks are growth or a value stocks
Right, sir.
are decided by which, which analyst. The
Yeah.
problem with that is it's all about assumption that this is a growth stock or this is a value stock, and then you make a style box on it and come up with one particular suggestion that okay, this is coming towards a value based fund or a growth based fund. The main methodology we have is to not look towards the style of the fund, but to look towards the exact volatility that particular fund, or the exact rolling volatility that particular portfolio is achieving there. So that's how you can actually able to understand that. As a matter of fact, if you look multiple funds, let's say we look towards only mid cap funds, right? At the many cases, you would be able to find that these funds, let me just show you those funds.
Yeah.
Let's say these are the mid cap funds we have added. Now if I want to know that which are those funds which are highly volatile, you cannot just look towards standard deviation.
Okay.
Rather, you can directly look towards rolling analysis and come up with one suggestion that some of the funds are highly volatile, because in rolling analysis you're simulating a daily investment for a 1 year period, right? So here the simulations happen, and you can actually take a look towards what are the highest volatile mid cap funds in that particular range. And that is more useful because you would be able to understand that these are more riskier and these are less riskier, rather than going towards a style box which is not making any sense. So that's why we do not look towards the style box altogether.
Actually, my prospect for doing that was to check for the qualitative aspect of the manager, not for the quantitative. Like quantitative is there, we have all such data here. I just
Hmm.
wanted for the qualitative, like the manager does he frequently whatever he thinks is value and growth is one thing. Once he sets up a fund, one is value, one is growth according to him, whatever it is, but does he change it accordingly? Does he stick to his style, or does he change it? That is what I wanted to analyze from that.
Sure. So we can take a look into this. There will be further investigation on this. But currently, because that there is a serious assumption going on with some entity that style box, that particular stocks are value or growth is a problem, because what parameters shows that are growth stocks, and what parameters indicates that are value stocks inside them, and how the strategy is actually implemented altogether is a question. And it's a big question, because that's how on the assumption we take decision. So we do not want to give you such parameters which will be based on assumptions, and one such assumption, and then you take decisions based on them and make a portfolio out of it. So
Okay,
definitely we will make more investigation on this. We can connect, we can have a separate training session with you to take a
fine,
look towards what you're looking after, and then we can take a call on that.
fine. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So are there any other questions? So it seems like there aren't any other questions. So we should wrap up this session. We will meet again in the next Friday, 4 o'clock tentatively. And we will have another set of topic to show you how to use NGEN Markets platform. So thank you everyone for
Yeah,
visiting.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Yes.
a question. So is it possible to get information ratio and trainer ratio on a rolling basis and Jensen's alpha?
Yeah, definitely. I think we got your query before on our support mail as well, or maybe someone else's query for the rolling analysis
Yeah,
of information. Yeah, for that there is an important thing is that this information ratio, Jensen's alpha, and trainer ratio, especially trainer and information ratio, this is all relative concept. So relative in the sense you would be able to take one singular benchmark on that. So we are actually investigating on those parameters to add them and how to add them into the list, because for rolling we need to actually also have a benchmark to actually see how the rolling information ratio is going on for against that benchmark. We cannot just add in directly by presetting a benchmark for all the securities. So it should be a customized set of analysis altogether. So we are definitely looking into it. We will update you once we have a proper set of disclosure, when we will be completing that project, and we will let you know on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So I think there aren't any questions. So we are wrapping up this session. We will meet again next week, tentatively Friday. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.